Councillors are H&F Cabinet member of Enterprise.
That is great. We also have here Sharon Lee, who is the Chief Executive, and Brad Day, who is the Director of Legal Services and also the Monitoring Officer. And we're fortunate to have Councillor Victoria Fowler and Councillor Watford from the Borough's Opposition. Welcome back. Okay, I will now move straight then to the first item on the agenda. And ask, has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes of the meeting? And any comments on those minutes? Are they agreed? Agreed. Apologies for absence. I had an absence from Councillor Boyd-Kwon, and we wish her speedy recovery. And then on to declarations of illness. Sorry, declarations of interest. There's also illness, isn't it? Declarations of interest. Are there any? No. Right. We'll move straight to question number 4, creating a housing company.
Thank you very much. Yes, this paper proposes establishing a council-owned housing company. As we know, there's difficulty across London, across the whole of the country, in providing sufficient affordable accommodation. This would give us additional flexibility in terms of acquiring properties in the open market, in terms of bringing conflict properties back into use, and allow us to have more affordable homes for more people as well.
Excellent. Anyone else want to comment on this paper? Right, I'll take questions from Councillor Altman.
I think I can say a small about first. As the one who's been around longest, this paper fills me with dread, simply because I've been there, seen it, oh dear no. Long ago, far away before any of you were on the council, there was a very keen Labour councillor called Councillor Kenner. Less of a young man in his own right, but with some misguided ideas. And what he set out to do in the 1980s, 1990s, was to buy up housing in Fulham, which has left us with the legacy of why we have such difficult, particularly street properties. Now, people, if you moved, he bought it, and it left us with a very difficult housing stock. I think we agree we have got, in some parts, a very difficult housing stock. I am just deeply concerned that we are going to make, or you are going to make, the same mistake again. Now, I understand the need for housing. That's not ever been a question as you go in my life. It's how you're going about it. I'm worried, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make a speech, that's not the question. I'm worried that by buying up properties, you will be driving the housing market out, making it, which is what happened when he did it. You know, if had somebody in a house for sale, he sold it to the council, they were sold it to the council. It drove the prices up in Fulham. And as you know, we've got one of the highest prices. And it left us with stock that wasn't suitable to us. Certain stock is absolutely excellent, and I'm not arguing, but I'm worried about if we've had the bright idea that they will require a lot more street properties. And I know we need larger houses for people, but it's the right sort of property we would be acquiring, not anything particularly that moved. And one of the reasons we have so much problem with the extensive voids is because the street properties that were bought up were not suitable, and now we've got the longer-term effect of having properties which people have got the money spent on them. So I realise it doesn't sound like a question, but it's the points I'm going to put across.
Okay, and it's always good to get the long view.
Sorry, you've got to really got the long view.
As you say, but I mean, us is a foreign country. They do things differently. There are significant differences between what's happening here and what happened in the 1980s. So I appreciate you raising concerns. Just to flesh it out a bit, because you're here to view the concerns, and we respect all views of opposition leaders in doing that.
I'm not leader. I'm sorry. No wish to me. Don't get back. No circumstances.
As an sorry.
I have no circumstances. Do I ever wish to be leader? Can we make that plain?
That was generally speaking, so I wasn't playing games. What do you have a question on that?
Yes, I want to know how you're actually going to find the properties, how you're going to define what sort of properties you're looking for.
So you like to understand your concerns correctly, what type of properties we're looking for, but also you mentioned something about quality of properties and voids.
Yes.
A good question around that.
Yes, I think, again, I'm wondering, obviously we need the money to do the expensive projects up high. But how are we going to re-let them? Is that going to have an effect again on the rental market? Because you're talking about doing it at a higher rate than the council rates, and therefore, are we therefore then going to have a knock-on effect of raising all the local rents, which people find unaffordable at the moment? And what, does that now make some questions for you, Joe?
It's a good question, and luckily Rowan is an economist, so he's qualified to answer that. But your final question then on this.
No, I'll wait till I get those to
Yeah, no, you can have as many questions you want, though. The final question of this tranche is, what will be the market effect?
Yes.
On interfering in the
Yes.
market, buying up flats, will it push rents up?
Yes.
Is what you're asking?
Yeah.
Okay.
And going back that again, putting the prices up on all properties, because if you're buying it, people are.
So will it have a ripple effect
Yeah.
on the wider market, not just in the private rental
No.
sector? Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think those are good questions. The property market obviously in Fulham is very different to how it was in the 80s. Yeah, I don't think the council's got the resources to be going out on the shopping spree, buying up every empty property in Fulham. The scale that this will be working at isn't going to be significant enough to be able to move the housing market in the area. In terms of picking up properties off the market, I mean, each business case will be assessed on a sort of case-by-case basis, but I'm more envisaging it as being, as developers of midway through a project, if they decide to abandon it, the council can then sort of come in and pick up a pre-managed project and continue on to the projects like that.
So what you're basically, so if I can just kind of get quite clear for me, what you're saying is you're not going on a shopping spree for street properties, but you're going to look, if a developer decides for one reason or other not to proceed with something, and so therefore we may be going for facts, we will be doing for so is that
Yeah, so again, each investment will have to be assessed on a case-by-case basis, but I don't, you know, we're certainly not going to be going on a shopping spree. I can't see us sort of picking up just individual properties. I imagine it might be where we have lots of flats perhaps, or several properties next to each other in a cluster thing. That's this will be assessed on a case-by-case basis, and it all involves borrowing as well. So we can certainly able to borrow any more we need.
and that was the point, just go on. Because
Carry on.
one, again, what if I understood, now I may have misunderstood, that you're planning then, if you're going to the rental, I call the rental market for people, you're planning. And I have got concerns because we have only just got out of the Hammersmith. And you know, I don't want, because we get too excited, the council gets too excited and too ambitious, we land ourselves in not being able to manage our properties correctly. You know, that is something that worries me. We get too much, you know, we're not that good, getting better, but we're not perfect yet. So that's one thing about how many properties you're thinking of, and how much, now I don't expect a figure for the rents, but it won't be the council rent, which is CPI plus. How will that affect the private rental market if you're doing it for private rental stuff?
So the purpose of this isn't for us to become, we're not becoming a sort of property developer. You know, this isn't the purpose of this. It's really to increase the stock of affordable housing. So where we are charging above what would be a council rent, that would generally be in the case of something like a complex void property where there's a lot of work that needs doing to it. It's very expensive to fix up. So the way that we would make back the money that we spent on doing that would be to charge a more intermediate level of rent rather than the basic council level that may be able to pay off the cost of development and then bring it back into the council's housing stock. So again, I don't really see this as competing with the private sector markets. I don't really see it having an impact on local rents.
Certainly, Councillor Bottom.
I'll refer to you then.
Where did the idea to do this come from?
Okay.
Yeah, so this isn't a particularly novel idea. Lots of other councils do it. It's something that's been tried and tested and it's working on certain places.
And finally, if I may, where is the financing coming from to start the work?
So it would be from what's called the Public Works Loan Board. So that's generally where the council borrows money from. We are able to get a discounted rate for housing borrowing, and so we're able to get the money from that into this council lending company, then use that in order to do the work.
And approximately how many millions are you looking at borrowing?
I mean, it's not going to be a huge amount. It's, as I say, each investment will be assessed on a case-by-case basis. We'll go through the business case for each one. This isn't going to be some great spending spree across the south of the borough. It's really just as and when it's in for doing it to give us an extra means to be able to make these improvements or to make the investment that we will be handling.
If I could just.
Certainly.
Yeah, approximately, and I know you can't give a defined figure, but could you give an approximation of how many properties you were thinking of per year? Just give us an idea. Have you any idea?
I think you're thinking about this in the wrong way, but we're not sort of setting out to sort of build up some large property portfolio. This gives us a full financial flexibility in order to do certain things that we can't currently do. And it will be used as and when we need it, but we don't necessarily need to use it at all. It's just there as an option for if we do need to make these changes.
So it's more an option than you've got a sort of category that, and I'm making a figure up, so this isn't a figure. That you're not planning to get 100 in 1 year and then you say, I'd like a little bit of a steer of sort of.
Yeah, maybe I should step in. I think what Councillor Marie is saying, there's having the legal entity there gives us the option to take advantage of housing market conditions, and that we can't take advantage of that if we don't have a company there. But if, for example, and I'll come on to it when I sum up, I think that's one question says, if, for example, a developer said to us, would you like to buy this building from us? We built 27 flats.
Yes.
We would sell it to you at what price we thought was competitive. We would like to be able to buy it rather than say no thanks and go to a housing association and say, do you fancy it?
That is much more clarity, because just reading it in the round, it did worry me, considering because of seeing what's happened in the past and the effects it's had.
Yes.
Now that is a much more clear statement of why you're doing it. It's clear enough.
Okay. So do you have any more questions? All right. And then maybe I can just give you some examples, which I hope reassures you. I'll give you a question at the end if they don't. I will move to the vote. Before I do that, does anyone else want to come in on this? No? Okay. That's a definite no. All right. Look, so you may recall in the press the recent Oswald Stoll case. And what had happened with that was Oswald Stoll were going to sell their properties to Chelsea Football Club, who want to expand the site, okay? And a flower seller approach, believe it or not, who Councillor Coleman / Ben Coleman didn't believe was familiar with approaching the session, and lots of people upset about it. And Councillor Campbell Simon also had people approach him about it. So together, they began to look at what might be doing. Well, at the time, themselves what Stoll was planning to do was to apply to the council the homelessness legislation to make veterans technically homeless, and then we would be obliged to put them on a list. And what they were saying is, could we jump off the list? Now, anyone who knows anything about the housing crisis would say, even if we did that, we probably wouldn't have enough properties available for everybody. But secondly, was the moral question. Why would you treat people like this? They're a community, they belong together, they support each other, many of them fought for the country and deserved our country for us to fight together. So what happened was, Councillor Campbell Simon and Councillor Collins, two Fulham representatives, started to come to me and say, and bring this to my attention. What we did was was we got Sir Oswald Stoll, who were fairly intense on their initial course of action, which was to, as you know, how some of them look at others on the Homes Association. And we thought that we thought was unacceptable, we wanted to take a different route. But we also met with the new owner of Chelsea Football Club, the chief executive, the CEO of Chelsea Football Club, and other representatives of the club, and just said, you know, we should work together. Chelsea were very good in saying we won't buy the property off them until we come to a solution. But at that point, the solution we hoped to get was that we would find either several different options. One option, in fact, the option we ended up going for, was we asked our housing people to see what we could buy on the open market and set off all Stoll's money from Chelsea. And what we managed to do, we've been in talks about buying on behalf of the Eastern Housing Association some different properties. So we got brand new properties built in, which are in Chelsea Green, and we got Oswald Stoll to buy them. And indeed, we were insistent, because Chelsea agreed with us that they wouldn't sell to Oswald Stoll until we were happy with the solution. So when we signed off the solution, Sir Oswald Stoll had agreed to buy properties. Now that meant we solved the problem with those veterans, but it also meant that there were options to do that in the future, because if you had another developer saying, we want to sell some flats, would you like to buy a block, then we should have a legal entity of houses to do that. So that's my first point, and that's what we think that legal entity does. I think the wider context is two things. It will not have, gone your notice that the temporary accommodation budgets of councils around the United Kingdom, particularly, are crashing some councils. I've spoken to London councils who were saying that if actually this financial liabilities of policy. But we just had a very good report from the auditor on our finances and some of the best in the country. But to say that temporary accommodation isn't a worry for it not be true, it is always a worry. So filling that, so whenever people say this is a cost you bought in the market, it's also a cost to rent on private sector landlords at very high rates.
Yes,
And so there was an economics around that, which Councillor Lee, Councillor May, Councillor James have been working on. The next point then is, what does the private rented sector look like? Well, I currently have extraordinary level of knowledge about the private rented sector, because I wrote a report on what was wrong with it. There's many things wrong with it. It's totally unregulated in a way that, ham is more regulated than the hose pasture you live in. You can't sell people poisonous ham. You can rent out a flat with poisonous mold in it. Electrics are more regulated in the private rented sector. You can't sell people a toaster that blows up and burns the house down. You can rent out a house where the electrics might blow up and burn the flat down. So it's an unregulated sector. Most of the landlords there's some very, very good landlords out there, private rented landlords, but there are far too many ones. And most of them are people who have less than 4 properties. Indeed, when we went to Parliament, it was called an amateur sector. I think over 50% of landlords, I know it's over 50%, don't see themselves as landlords, just see themselves as having an investment that pays them. So the sector is totally regulated, and that means that, and within that, rents have risen in line with market forces. Given rents are often paid by local housing allowance or by housing benefits, you have situations where rents are going up, in some cases, over 50%. Now, the OECD says anyone who pays more than 40% of their income into housing costs, mortgage rents, is overburdened by their housing costs. So we have some of the highest housing costs anywhere in the world in the UK, particularly in London and the South East. So if you look at that, that means that it takes on the next part of the housing market. Essentially, if you look at the facts and figures, Labour councils tend to do a lot of affordable housing. Conservative councils tend to be a lot more pro for private housing. But actually, within that, even if you get 35% affordable housing, it still leaves 75% might be sold on the open market. Much of that financed by flats sold to overseas investors. So if you then think, well, who's losing out? Well, you've got the poorest people who once would have got council housing and now being put into temporary accommodation in often unsanitary flats. Or you've got people who've been to university, paid their university fees, working in an economy, often on lower incomes, and then can't get a decent place to live close to where they work. So the housing sector, any easy look at it, just doesn't work at the moment. Does not work for large parts of the population. Back in the 80s, people in their 20s were buying flats in Fulham. You know, there's very few people doing that without help from an outside benefactor of some time. So this is all very different. Now, at this point, I need to raise Councillor Jones, because we've been so robust in negotiating for developments, and we have hundreds of millions of pounds coming in and still in Section 106. We now have more council, people have more social housing being built than anywhere else in London. And Andrew says there's a very good chance that we're able to service a truism yet, but we're building more per square metre than anyone else, 3,000 homes than anyone else in the UK. But that's because we've been able to get money from property developers. But 3,000 homes isn't going to sort the population out here. So what we want is a legal mechanism that would step into the marketplace, that would be able to take wise judgments. We're a fairly conservative operation when it comes to taking risk here, and make decisions that have very strong business case. So council is that this company will make investments on a case-by-case basis. That's exactly what we will do. If it wasn't for Oswald Stone, we would like to bought that building at Oswald Stone, but we very good value, would be a good return for the taxpayer, let alone the local authority and the people that live in it. But having a legal mechanism that gives us that flexibility in the future is wise and it's prudent, and it's the right thing that our residents expect. Because anytime you talk to anybody, they will tell you they cannot understand how the market has a market competing. People my age who have children needing homes will tell you they don't know how their children are going to be able to afford homes. So the housing crisis is now so big in the UK that it envelops a large part of the population. And this is just one of the many measures we're taking to stop the housing crisis and create a more equitable scenario. So you see in that context, I think we can deal with concerns. I think it's a solid and wise decision.
Well, it's been very interesting. I think it would put it in the footing and see what, and hopefully we will have regular reports on some way of knowing what is actually happening.
That's right, and we welcome this. All right. If there's any other points on this, in that case, this is item read. Thank you very much. I move next on to the City Council strategic options and to Councillor Jones.
Thanks very much. Cabinet received a report last month on the previous meeting on campus, and this is a further report this month. The campus project obviously involves, we've just been talking about affordable homes. It involves the construction of 204 private sale and affordable homes, as well as office facilities and the refurbishment of the historic hall. There was, as previously been reported, a significant health and safety issue in relation. Yes, I was about to say. I'm reading. There we go, it's on the open.
Yeah.
Okay. So I should say there's a closed appendix in terms of the public meeting. This is the open part of the report. I was going to come to that. So there was a significant issue, and therefore we're waiting for conclusions from the regulator. There's been recovery work in terms of the completion of the project, and some of the technical specifications around that prevented this public report being published before the 20th of October. The exempt report we discussed in detail parts of the meeting, that is just for the public part of the agenda.
Okay, and can I just again reaffirm, please note this is a late report, that is the agenda because the urgency of the step, it is an urgent report. Also, asking the recommendations are agreed, which we will come on to at the end, and I will now take questions.
I'm going to seek my questions to be exempt parts of the agenda.
Fair enough. Any other comments there? Is this item agreed? Thank you very much. And then we have the forward panel key decisions. All those noted. Well, can I thank everybody for tuning in tonight or for attending? And this is the Democratic Forum, one of the Democratic Forum in London Borough Council Fulham, and so we appreciate any involvement from anybody from outside of London. If I could make a now exclude press and public, so I'm going to read out the preferred text. I resolve under section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972 that the public and press be excluded from the meeting during the consideration of business on the grounds of the attainment and the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3, section 12A of the said Act, and that the public interest in maintaining the exemption currently outweighs the public interest in disclosing information. Is this proposed resolution agreed? Thank you.